What is going on YouTube? Joe here with Culination Media, bringing you yet another Pokemon X and Y Wi-Fi battle today. Today I have a UU match for you with Brian, who is a subscriber/follower on Twitter, and we both have some interesting teams here, which I will go into in a second. But before I do that, just want to remind you guys that as long as this video reaches that magical number of 60 likes, I will continue to bring you these lovely daily double Wi-Fi battle uploads and all of that fun, exciting stuff. Now looking at his side of the field, his Mega Evolution obviously is going to be that Blastoise. Nidoking can be very dangerous. It can be Life Orb. It can be Scarfed. Either way, just a very dangerous Pokemon. Cloyster as well. Now, the Nidoking is most likely special. The Cloyster is definitely physical, but I need to watch out for that because if he comes in, freely and is able to get a Shell Smash off, he can just sweep my entire team, especially if we get into the late game and some of my Pokemon are down already. The Blastoise, like I said, is probably going to be Mega. Probably your typical Mega Blastoise. It might have the Rapid Spin, probably has Water Pulse, probably has like Ice Beam, and then either Dark Pulse or Aura Sphere, one of those. He's got the Scrafty, that can be Assault Vest, it could be Dragon Dance, probably has the Lumberry if it's not holding the Assault Vest, so I do need to watch out for that as well. Don't want that getting up too many boosts. Porygon2 is going to be very difficult to take down, just because it's just silly bulky with that Eviolite, and I do have the knockoff on my Zangoose and my Crocodile, so I will be trying to hit that as early and as often as possible to get rid of that Eviolite and just make it a lot easier to get rid of that Porygon2. The Claydol is, I don't know. I mean, it's a great utility Pokemon. I use it a lot myself. It's probably going to be his lead because he will either want to Rapid Spin away my rocks or any hazards that I want to put up, and on top of that he can lay rocks of his own. So and Claydol has the two immunities as well, with the ground typing being immune to electricity. He's also immune to just other ground moves because he has Levitate. On my side I've got the Assault Vest Blastoise, and that's going to be a crush in this battle, as well as the Crocodile, which is going to be Rocky Helmet, but it's kind of like an anti-lead Crocodile. It's got the Taunt and Knockoff as well, so this is what we're going to go for here. Just because I'm pretty sure he's going to go for the Stealth Rocks, and that is indeed what he goes for, so that works out very nicely for me. He's going to withdraw here because I guess he just doesn't want to take a Knockoff, so he's going to switch into his Blastoise, and he's going to be able to take this Knockoff pretty well, and we do not see any item getting knocked off, so we know he's going to Mega Evolve this turn, and he's probably going to go for the Water Pulse. So I'm going to switch out into my special wall, which is going to be my Florges. And I'm like pretty certain that I can take anything this wants to throw at me. Even if he's modest max special attack, I'm really not afraid of this thing. It's going to take quite a few hits to be able to take me out. So I'm fine switching Florges in. There's the Water Pulse, and as you can see, that looks like after lefties it might be a 4-hit KO. I don't know about that. Yeah, maybe a 4-hit KO. So he's going to withdraw here, seeing as how he can't really do a whole lot to me at all. And I'm going to go for the Toxic. So we're going to get the Toxic off on this Claydol, which is great. It's going to wear it down because its defenses are very high. I'm not completely positive if it's going to be specially defensive or if it's going to be physically defensive, because it has decent defenses on both sides. But at the very least, we'll get some residual damage on this thing, and that's just fantastic. Now that he has the Claydol out against my Florges, though, he's going to be able to get the rocks up. So what I'm going to do is predict the Stealth Rock here, because he's just adamant to get these rocks up. He wants them up very badly, probably because I have Yanmega on my side. And so I don't blame him for that. I'm going to go into my Blastoise, though, because I should be able to take any hit that this thing wants to throw at me. And I also have the Rapid Spin. And I noticed that he doesn't have any Ghost types, so he cannot block the Rapid Spin. He's going to switch out here because he doesn't want to risk a Water type move, and he might be thinking I'm going to Mega Evolve because he doesn't know what set I'm running. So in comes the Porygon2, and I'm just going to Rapid Spin here, get rid of those rocks, because if Yanmega wants to come in, I don't want to be taking all kinds of damage from those rocks. So I get a crit on the Rapid Spin, which does a whopping 6.5 damage, and I'm going to go back into Ivy, the Florges here, to take whatever move he wants to throw at me. He decides to go for the Toxic, which actually works out great for me because I have the Aromatherapy. So I'm not worried about this at all. And now that I think about it, this might be a bulkier Porygon2, not the offensive one. So I have the Wish. I can also pass that into Blastoise if I get worn down as he continues to try to set up the rocks, because he's going to go back into Claydol here, and that's just, I don't know. It doesn't seem like he has anything to cure status on his side, so this Claydol is going to get worn down while I can just pass wishes and all that stuff. He's going to get his lefties here, and that's going to give him a little bit of HP back, but he's also going to get hurt by the Toxic. And my plan here is just to weaken his team to the point where I can bring in Zangoose and start sweeping everything, dealing massive damage with toxic boosted attacks. Sorry, couldn't I don't know, get that sentence to work for some reason. I have problems sometimes, folks. Alright, in comes the Porygon2, and I'm going to go for the Moonblast this time to get some damage, and yeah, it really doesn't do that much damage whatsoever, and Porygon2 has the Recover, so that just really doesn't do much. I was really hoping I was going to get the special attack drop, but that is not as important. Gonna go for the Toxic here, and that is great to get on this Porygon2. We're gonna exchange Toxics, actually. And that is fine by me, because like I said, I have the Aromatherapy, and I can, you know, heal that off. I only have 5 PP on it, so I only have 3 after I use it this time. But that being said, Porygon2 having the Toxic on it is going to be extremely, extremely helpful. Will not be able to stay in for long periods of time without having to spam Recover, which is great. So I'm going to go straight for the Aromatherapy here. I'm not going to mess around. I don't want Toxic on my Florges at all. He's going to go for the Recover, which I thought was pretty interesting because he was really, I don't know, like at 75% health. So, I mean, he's going to take more damage due to the Toxic, so it seemed like kind of a weird play there. I don't know, maybe he thought I was going to attack him, or maybe he was just trying to scout to see what I would do, in which case that was not a silly play whatsoever. I'm going to switch out here into my Zangoose, and I wasn't sure what he was going to do. I figured he might go for another Toxic, and that is indeed what he does, and that is perfectly fine with me because I'm Toxic or Toxic Boost anyway. The only downside is that I take Toxic damage this turn instead of waiting until the next turn. But that means that I get a free activation for my Toxic Boost ability, and now something is going to get destroyed. He's going to switch into his Claydol here, and I was going straight for that knockoff in case he wanted to stay in with the Porygon2, and the Claydol takes massive damage from that as well, gets rid of his lefties. I'm going to take toxic damage, he's going to take toxic damage, and this Claydol is as good as dead right now, and that means no rocks for you, and that makes me so happy, because it was a battle back and forth. He really wanted those rocks up, and he just did not get the chance to do that. And I don't think he's going to bring his Porygon2 back in at this point after seeing the knockoff, because that's just basically asking for it to be dead. So he's going to bring his Nidoking, and I'm thinking, can he take a hit from me? Probably not, so I stayed in, but should have known by the way he brought this in that it was going to be Scarf, so he does outspeed me, go for the Sludge Bomb, and that is a dead Zangoose, because Zangoose is pretty frail. So I'm going to go into my Crocodile here, because that's really the only thing I have that can take on this thing when it's locked into Sludge Bomb. And now that he switches out, I'm 100% positive that it is Scarfed. And gonna go for the Earthquake here. I know nothing on his team really wants to take that, so he goes into his Scrafty, and it takes it kind of sort of okay. I mean, I'm not invested whatsoever. I'm Impish Nature, fully physically defensive, Rocky Helmets, all that stuff. So I'm gonna switch out, go into my Glade here, predicting a Drain Punch. But he actually goes for the Ice Punch. So I don't know if he was predicting maybe on Mega to come in. Not entirely sure, but he does a lot of damage to Glade. I'm going to outspeed, obviously. I am Choice Scarf, so it doesn't matter either way. He is going to switch out, though, and he's going to switch into his Blastoise. And that's still not going to like this. He really doesn't have anything on his team with Claydol gone that wants to take a close combat. And as you can see, that's going to be a nice 2-hit KO. And because I'm Scarfed, I'm going to outspeed. In fact, I may have just outsped regardless, because Blastoise really isn't that fast. So even and a lot of times, Mega Blastoise doesn't really run max speed either. So pretty sure I was in the clear there, but we are taking out that Mega Blastoise, which is a huge blow to his team. Out comes the Nidoking again, and this is the biggest problem for me. You can just switch this thing in and out and deal massive amounts of damage to my team. So what I'm going to do here is switch into Blastoise because I am Assault Vest. I know he probably won't go for the Thunderbolt there. And I take that Sludge Bomb very, very well. Very, very well. And he has to switch out here because I'm just going to kill him the next turn. He goes into his Porygon2, which gets the attack raise due to the download ability, which is fine by me. Gonna go for the Scald. That really does absolutely nothing whatsoever. But I had to go for it, in the off chance that he wanted to stay in. And yeah, that is that. So he takes some toxic damage. I'm going to switch out here. I do not want my Blastoise to get toxic. And I figured that's what he's going to go for. Instead, he just goes for the Recover. And that is not a bad play either because his health was looking kind of low there. And what I really need is either to keep this thing in play for it to just have the toxic damage just continually, you know, roll up to the point where I can KO it with something, or I need to knock off that Eviolite. That's really the only way I'm going to be able to kill this thing. He's going to go for the Tri-Attack here, and that does absolutely nothing to Florges whatsoever. I'm able to get my Wish off, which is great. Thankfully, he didn't get any status, because that would have been very annoying. And as you can see, the toxic damage is building up. So that is great news for me. I'm going to switch out here and attempt to pass a Wish over to my Crocodile. I know he's going to go for the Tri-Attack again, or maybe go for the Recover, but he's actually just going to go for the Toxic, so that was a good play. Good play indeed. And so now I have Crocodile Toxic, then that's one of my walls. It's never good to have a wall Toxic. That's just bad news. Bad news. He's going to take a lot more damage due to that Toxic. He's going to have to go for Recover or Switch here, and he knows the knockoff has to be coming. He can feel it. Or I could taunt him and make it so that he can't recover, so he has to switch out. He's going to go into his Scrafty as I decide to go for the knockoff, and that's really not going to do that much damage whatsoever. There goes the leftovers for the Scrafty. So no more passive recovery for you, you hoodlum person. Out goes Crocodile because I cannot stay in. Figured he's either going to go for the Ice Punch or the Drain Punch here. I decide to predict the Drain Punch this time as opposed to the Ice Punch from last time, so I decide to bring in that Yanmega and let him get some screen time, finally. Finally. I am Choice Specs, and I know I outspeed, so I'm just going to go for the Air Slash. He doesn't have anything on his team that's going to resist it at this point. Scrafty just straight up dies to that Air Slash because Choice Specs Yanmega is incredibly powerful. Now we have the Cloyster coming in, Shiny Cloyster, and that is scary. And I have no choice but to try to attack this thing and hope that it dies, and it just straight up dies to an Air Slash from Yanmega. I know Cloyster has very pitiful special defense, but I don't know what else to say. He probably should have brought his Nidoking in first to threaten me out, but he didn't. He thought maybe he could live one and then start sweeping, but that is not the case. The Cloyster goes down, so I'm going to switch into my Crocodile here as the Nidoking comes in. Gonna go for the Ice Beam, which was not a bad play, and that's just gonna straight up kill me. I thought he might go for the Flamethrower, he might go for the Thunderbolt, but Ice Beam was his safest play, and that is indeed what he went for, so that is a bit unfortunate to see Crocodile go. But, yeah, we're gonna bring in Blastoise here to take anything this thing wants to throw at me, and we know it's locked into the Ice Beam and Assault Vest and all that stuff. It's really not gonna do any damage. He has to go into the Porygon2. And he's probably very happy that Crocodile is gone at this point. But with the Scald and the Toxic damage, I think I'm going to be able to kill him with another Scald here. So I have no choice but to stay in and go for it. And it just barely takes out this Porygon2. So it's a huge step. And I believe he just has the Nidoking left now at this point. And he's going to go for the Sludge Bomb. That's not going to do nearly enough damage. Blastoise just taking the hits left and right. Assault Vest Blastoise is so incredibly good. I can't believe I haven't tried it up until this point. But I went for the Scald here. That just straight up kills this Nidoking, because Nidoking honestly has pretty bad defenses. Can't take a lot of hits, especially super effective hits, that is. So that's going to be the end of that battle. Very interesting. I'm happy that the Cloyster didn't get set up or anything. I would have liked to see a little bit more of the Claydol and or the Scrafty, because I don't know what kind of set that Scrafty was running. Maybe it was Dragon Dance and he just didn't get a chance to go for it. Normally, though, Lumberry seems to be a thing to run on the Dragon Dance sets. Not entirely sure. The Claydol obviously was just utility because it had the Stealth Rocks. It probably had Rapid Spin, probably had Earthquake. We didn't get to see it do a lot of actual moves because it was continually taunted and all that stuff. Anyway, very fun battle. I wish Zangoose would have been able to do a little bit more as well, but that Choice Scarf Nidoking is just too good. Too good. Anyway, thank you very much for the battle, Brian, and thank you all very much for watching. As always, do not forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, because it does help out a lot. So I'll see you guys for tomorrow's battle. But until then, game on.